Hi, guys. I'm fine. I'm in an undisclosed location, but I'm doing okay. It's all right.
What are you doing?
The cats, you know.
Oh god.
Really, I'm fine. It's fine. Shut up, Joe. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve. Mark's around. Say hi, Mark.
Hey everybody!
And this is Smokey, Steve, and Mark. Either welcome or welcome back. And happy Saturday. It is the weekend, so we know what that means. This is going iced today. It's a little Starbucks, little coffee mate vanilla creamer, and some ice. It's a little toasty today, but I'm feeling particularly bald, so the hat stays. So I hope everyone's well. I hope everybody is safe. Look out for yourselves. Look out for each other. Today, we are going to revisit our fair lady, Chantal Marie, Foodie Beauty, Big Beautiful Me, the Daily Chantal, Chantopolis, Chantal Pete's, Beezer, whatever, and Foodie Beauty again. So, we're going to kind of try to pick off where we left off last week. We did a few bullet points last week to kind of sum up the week as best we could. Last week, we followed her right out of the ER because she had gone due to some health concerns over using too much, and then she stayed at her uncle's. We talked about the reactors who've been coming for her lately. Not that they always haven't, but it's getting on her radar, and it seems to be bothering her because it comes up how often that it doesn't bother her. So, her legal cannabis haul, which was quite a bit of money did she spend, $400 or $500, I believe. And we also talked about her sleepiness and how tired she was on camera. The word nodding was, I believe, used by Mark or I, or both of us. And he elaborated on that a little bit, and also escalation, and a couple other things. So we do have Mark with us for this video, too. He'll be joining us. So let's just kind of dive in. So this week, a couple points to bring up. Her continued high streams. It's not news. But what's novel about it is that it keeps happening. It just keeps happening. Even when there was a break in it with the trip to the ER, it's still going on. I believe she's being outplayed very well by Dom, and I'll go into that a little bit. She's not going to get well by any stretch of the imagination, and that's a foregone conclusion for a lot of folks, but even taking the outside look in as a person who has a substance use issue, usually you're advised to stay away from certain people, places, or things if you are interested in getting well. I don't believe she is right now, but just for a heads up, it's a good thing to keep in mind. And then her idea of keeping things private. And then how it's not kept private. It's teased after that. So I did this out of order. So first we'll talk about continued high streams. Now the first one I came onto that bothered me personally, Steve, bothered me. Not triggered, but bothered, was the 4-minute super drunk live stream that was going on while we were filming last week. It's down. I can't find it anymore, and I actually haven't found too many copies of it, which makes me happy. She was very intoxicated, and she was having herself some cranberry vodka. And she was kind of leading, like, she didn't drink much. That was her thing. Like, no, I only had like one or two, whatever. She was hammered. And what brought back to me that was bothersome is because my drug of choice was alcohol. And I remember being that hammered, telling people I only had one or two drinks and expecting them to believe it. You don't, like, there's the self-awareness of intoxication. Like, you really think people are buying your bullshit. So that video kind of, to me, was like, she doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. She thinks she can lie about use. If she thought she could pretend to be sober in that video, then she thinks that she can cover it all. Not so much. I was embarrassed for her and me, because it flashed me back to, oh dear Stephen. I hope you continue to do better, because that's waiting for me. That's right there. I'm only like this far away from a drink, you know? I put some stuff in between me and that, like support, like Mark, like my doctor, like my psychiatrist, like my family, like my coping skills, you know? So, she came back later in the day after that, and she wasn't much better either. And it was that yellow dress, which she's probably going to have to cut off because she was wearing it so much. Not because she got fat, but because I think her skin may have grown around it just because it was there. Um, in the continued high streams, we've seen some nudity. There was a nipple that appeared, I believe, at least part of it. The butt crack made an appearance. Now, that video was kind of attention-seeking because she gets up. There was another one. Gets up, you can see her backside. She's got this underwear on that looks like, her choice, her body, her choice. And she goes off camera, but then she comes right back on camera and starts finishing up. She knows what she's doing at that point. There's an accident, and then there's not. And then she came back on and started getting dressed after that. So, obvious lying. Like, she's obviously lying about some of the stuff that's going on. And she can say, well, I want to keep it private. That's when she would have to lie. When you would have to lie about something so obvious that people would say you're obviously lying, that's the point where she pulls things back and wants them to be private, I believe. Because who wants to admit something so unflattering and so damaging to one's character? You just want to say, I don't want to talk about it, leave me alone. So, if it's going well, she'll tell you all about it, make a whole friggin' video. If it's not going well, I want to keep it to myself. Fair enough, who likes to share unflattering shit about themselves? But it's an easily identified pattern, I think, that you can tell where Chantal is having a difficult time in her life by what she stops talking about. So, believe me, if she was actually clean, she'd be talking about it. She'd be having, a celebration of it's been 1 month since I stopped. It's obviously not working out that way. So I accept the fact that she lies. Because she's in the middle of substance use, polysubstance abuse all over the place. And when someone's in the throes of that, they lie. I don't approve. I don't accept it. And I don't believe her most of the time. But I accept that it's happening because that's part and parcel with addiction. Again, that doesn't make it okay. It just makes it predictable that it's going to happen. Put it that way. It explains it, but doesn't excuse it. So, would I be surprised if Chantal lied? No. I wouldn't be, especially now. Now, mind you, she's always been a bit manipulative and played fast and loose. That's part of her YouTube presence. I suspect it's part of her real life as well. I'm not a friend of hers in real life or on Family or even on YouTube. So I don't know about that. But, let's see. And for the most part, I don't believe her. And the further in she goes with all these substances, the worse it gets and the more she denies it. That's not such a good thing. She, like the examples that she had, like Shannon. Who the fuck knew there was a Shannon? Mark, did you know who Shannon was?
Who the hell's Shannon?
Thank you. I had no idea. Maybe she came up a while ago. She started talking to this girl live in the chat, apologized for something, then they have plans. We'll see middle of next week if that comes up. She ditched Shannon and instead ended up at an undisclosed location. Told Karate Joe it's too private a question to ask if she's doing cocaine. So, too private to bring up. Again, when it's too private, it means it's not going well and I don't want to talk about it. Privacy. The privacy starts when progress stops, pretty much. So, next part. I believe she's being outplayed by Dom. And people have mentioned that before, and I just think it's continuing to happen. Again, the video's from the undisclosed location. Does anyone think she's anywhere else but his place? And you might as well come, I don't know. Again, she can keep what she wants to herself, but when it's so obvious that something seems to be going on, that she's not home and she's doing other stuff, and if you want it to be private, keep it the fuck off YouTube. Say you want your privacy and then film yourself from a private location, tease all sorts of shit. I mean, that's just for views and mystery and stuff. She doesn't want privacy, she wants mystery, I believe. Because that, brings people in and gets them wondering and gets them asking and all that sort of shit, and the farms light up and...
the mysterious woman.
Yeah, she's, Vixen, portrait of a woman. I don't know. So, she wants everyone to know that she's being active, that she's, again, the vixen with the, the messed hair and the smeared lipstick, and then the gentleman in the background who she mutes the camera for 20 times so that she can talk to her chat, and then is confused as to why they might be upset by that. Like, the chat is such an afterthought of what's going on to what she was doing at the time. I don't know. This was when she was going to see Shannon, and that got canceled, and she went over to a friend's place. a friend's place, a friend with a mattress on the floor's place. But at any rate, she thinks she's probably in control here because she's getting lucky. She's getting some substances. She has a place to go crash and use hard where pizza's in. She doesn't have to do it at home. So I think she probably feels like she's getting the long end of the stick here because her needs are getting met. But what is she putting out to do this? Whose money is being spent? Hers or his? Who went to Farm Boy and filled the fridge? Her or him? Who's paying for the drugs? Her or him? And who does all the driving? Her or him? So who's getting more out of this? When I was in, this is a sidebar, and I'm going to speak in a way that's not particularly PC, but I want you to understand it's in context. So I've been in jail about 3 times. The longest time was 3 months. So that was the most time I had to get to, like, integrate into the low security dorm community. And I had a couple friends, and my parents would visit every week, one, the other, or both. And when we go into the visitation room, a lot of the guys I knew, some of whom were nice guys with drug problems, some of whom were scumbags with drug problems. It depends. Sometimes one is independent of the other. And they'd have the scumbaggy guys, some of them, their girlfriends or women or babies' moms or whatever would be very large women. Very large women. And a lot of the guys, they'd get a lot of money on commissary, and they'd get books sent from Amazon. That was still allowed at the time to get them sent into the prison. And I had to ask one time, I said, well, y'all like big girls. And he was like, dude was like, big girls pay like they eat. That's how he summed it up, that it was a using relationship. It was a manipulative relationship that he believed that guys would get into relationships because they would be extra in their attempts to get a guy's attention. And that they would do more than just, get themselves dressed up, give a good massage, be great at conversation, have a good sense of humor, that kind of stuff. The stuff you would maybe bring to a relationship, honesty, loyalty, all that stuff. Instead, they're looking for the woman to bring money. And they feel like they can manipulate it out of her because she's larger and she would take what she could get. So, not kind language, but in principle, it looked like it was playing out pretty well. And in some of these ways, it feels like it too. Now, she can spoil her man. There's nothing wrong with that. That's her prerogative to spend her money how she pleases. But when she comes into chats later, like 10 minutes ago, and says that she's going broke because of all the fast food she's eating. Okay. So, a test for her would be don't pay for a damn thing for like 2 weeks and see how this relationship, lovership, friendship, whatever the relationship is, whatever it's called, it almost doesn't matter. I mean, it is her business, but for her to say it's nobody else's is bullshit. It's on YouTube. It's published on YouTube. It's meant to be commented on YouTube. That's why YouTube has comment sections, so people can comment on it. If it was too private to be commented on, then it shouldn't be put on a place with a comment section. I don't know. And again, spend your money how you see fit. She did slip and say the word boyfriend when she was at the undisclosed location. I don't know if she meant him exactly, or what their discussion is about their relationship. But I'm telling you, stop spending a little money and see if it goes dry. Just see if it goes dry. That's, not an authentic connection when it's a paid relationship. And as I was making these notes, it occurred to me right about now, fuck it, none of this matters. It's all talk. Because she's currently doing drugs and does not seem interested in stopping. She seems interested in swapping. So while she's home, she's doing all the edibles. And then when she goes out to party, she has whatever party favors are available. And is she spending her own money on those? It's weird. She'll say, I'm running out of money. But before anyone says anything, it's not drugs. It's not drugs. Just to diffuse that before it starts. That just planted a seed more than it did alleviate any suspicion, I think. So, again, all that's moot because she's still using. Doesn't seem like there's a problem. She used the word addict vaguely. She calls it now a habit that she caught in time. So, but she has a history of using at home alone, according to her. When you're using alone, it's a little bit different because it's not a we drug at that point. It's a me drug. What do I have that I'm feeling? How am I enjoying myself home alone if I'm high as hell? Like, what am I getting out of it? Am I talking to anybody? Am I doing anything particular? Am I just sitting in my bed with my heart pounding? What do you get out of it from using alone? I used to drink alone. That was kind of my gig. And the thing I would do is drink, get hammered, watch really sad videos on YouTube to try to make myself cry so I could feel something, anything at the time. I was on a bad cocktail of meds and on a bad bender of drinking. Every time I would be scared to finish the bottle because that would mean I'd run out. So I would drink whatever I was drinking, vodka, Listerine, whatever happened. There'd be this much left. I'd have to go get another bottle because I can't be without any, because I would freak the fuck out if I ran out of it. And there was a point where I was having seizures when I was running out of stuff too. So, but at any rate, most of this is moot because she's not gonna change. 3, there's something in the drug and alcohol world, comes out of the 12-step world, but probably in therapy too. The idea that if a person is interested in getting well, and again, this is hypothetical because I don't think she does, but for people who may be watching content that are interested, avoiding people, places, and things that are triggering to a person with an addiction. So let's say she does get interested in getting well again in a week, and then it wears off too after that. Chantal has a very short window, I believe, of reachability. You can maybe get her for 2 hours one day where you can maybe engage her to start to get some help, to at least pick up the paperwork. But then you lose her, and maybe 6 weeks later, something comes up again where you might, and then she's gone again. She has a very short window, I think, of reachability, where the right help would be available and she'd be willing to get it and the insurance money would be there. None of that stuff has all lined up at once. And whether or not she's made any effort to create that, it doesn't sound like she has. She puts off phone calls, she misses appointments, she makes excuses, and things don't get better, and that shouldn't be a surprise, you know? Let's see, people, places, things. Being outplayed. Okay. Now, these are things to be aware of if you're trying to get off a drug habit. So again, we're going to not really apply this to her. We're just going to give some general good advice. People to be avoided. Old or new friends you used to party with, or dealers. So if she's interested in getting away from drugs, she can't be fucking around with guys who do drugs. You know, because what that leads to, would she have bought a bunch of cocaine to do at home if she hadn't done it on a bender with a guy she was sleeping with? Do you think it would have just popped up that she would have started doing it? I don't know. It's hard to say. She has good friends like Shannon. It would be nice to pick up the good friend Shannon and go for that day trip to Montreal on YouTube payday, which all this stuff seems to be happening around. The 21st hits, she's packing a bag. 20th hits, she's packing a bag. You're not going anywhere till the 21st. What do you need to pack a bag for? Not saying that she needs to feel guilty necessarily. That's not for me to put on anyone, to say you should feel guilty for, you know, having consensual sex with another adult and doing substances. Well, if they're illegal, yeah, you're fucking poisoning your community with illegal drug use. That's not cool. It's bigger than just I'm not hurting anybody. And besides, when we're calling family members at 5 a.m. and rallying everybody awake, that is hurting other people. You're stealing sleep from people who care about you when you create a giant episode and then everyone's worried. It does take from other people. It might not take their money or their time. It takes their sleep. I've stolen a lot of sleep from my mom, I'm sure. So there is more than just it's only hurting me. Oh, great fancy Moses. Places. Houses of people you used with. I don't know about a trap house. I've heard about a trap house. I don't know about a trap house on a certain street whose name I'm not going to repeat. Others allege to know that some place is there. Chantal has called it not a trap house and said it's not near there and that she was just going to a Burger King close by. I'm not close enough to know details, and this isn't a part of her story that I'm as interested in investigating, because whatever. But if it is a trap house, and that is where she's going, and she wanted to get well, she would stop going. She would stop going. Get Dom a bike. You want to spend some money on him? Get him a fucking bike so he can come out and see you. You shouldn't have to do all the driving. No. This is probably, I'm guessing, a pattern of Chantal's over time. She had the car. She was probably the friend that drove everybody everywhere, you know? She's always schlepping Pete. Well, she used to schlep Pete's around. I think Pete's probably hasn't seen sunlight in a while. He's probably getting pale because I don't think he's been out lately to do too much. She said she doesn't mind giving and giving and giving, but does she do it with an expectation of something in return? Maybe. I don't know. Does she hope it greases the wheels with relationships and with friendships that she can, on some degree, buy a little bit of equity with a friendship and say, well, I'm doing this for you. This is how I show my XYZ. Who wouldn't want to be flattered with a bunch of gifts? Like if I was, you know, a homebound guy with a mattress on the floor who maybe was between jobs or maybe was a sous chef or something like that, who they don't make much money, and a woman walked in who I found attractive and offered to spend a lot of money on the things I was interested in, and my interests were drugs, and she offered to pay, and she offered to bring me food, and she offered to bring me a TV and a fan and a body pillow and all this stuff. I'd be inclined to say yes if I was the kind of person who takes advantage of other people, because they're going to give me all this stuff and all I have to do is sleep with them and party with them. That's fine by, it sounds fine by my 23-year-old self, because I was a nightmare of like, you know, selfishness and insecurity and please like me, but I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing at all. But again, she's in a spot now that I'm a little less sympathetic for, that she's just continuing to do this, knowing the consequences and not caring. I really think she thinks she's going to live forever. That like no bad things happen to her, they happen to other people. So again, the places. The fast food places you go before and after you use, they would be a place to avoid triggering. The Nashville chicken sandwich, if that's something you have before a bender of a weekend or you order 3 while you're there, things that flash you back to those times. I'm suspecting Chantal's not going to stay on cocaine and drugs forever. At some point, something's going to give. She's either going to escalate and take harder drugs. Someone will intervene. Dom will cut her off. She'll try to get another dealer and get jammed up. She'll get flagged for driving under the influence, you know, compromised driving, you know, like she's not well enough to be on the road. She's not. It doesn't matter if you drive slow or if you're really careful. Trust me. I know. And there's consequences for it. And they're well-deserved consequences because you take other people's life in your hand when you drive and you're not safe. At least not safe smoking, looking at the chat, and driving. At the very minimum, she would have to admit to doing that because she did. We watched. So if you were doing anything else or under any other influence driving, it's wildly irresponsible. It is. Believe me, I know. I've done it. And it hurts other people to do it. So anyway. Oh, and avoid the route you take there. If you want to kind of, you know, get it off your radar, you have to make new routines and do new things to kind of get away. Make sober memories. I think I mentioned this last week. There's going to be a point where that route that she drives to his place is never going to mean anything else to her other than that. And if she does quit going to his place or they break up, it's going to always remind her of going there. And that clicks over temptations like that. Using things. That makeup brush that she was using to scratch her nose, it's got to go. It's paraphernalia. It's become paraphernalia. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how you would do it with your keys exactly for, you know, a nice little beauty bump, but because you need your keys. But there's other things that need to go away as well. Other mind-altering drugs. Because if I were to, I don't know, take a Klonopin, take a Xanax or something, it'd probably get me loopy enough to think about getting a drink, because that's my drug of choice. So it loosens me up, loosens my inhibitions, and then I start to think the high I really want is a different kind of high. And that's where it leads me to, and that's what I want to go do. In her case, she seems to get herself a little silly, start talking to people and making plans, probably, and then the plans come through, and it's a 3-day weekend. It's a bender. If you're high the entire weekend, it's one thing, go out, get laced on a Friday night, or stay in, have some private time, do whatever you do, and maybe the next day you go for brunch, you go for a walk, you're seen out in public with the person, not start at 7 o'clock the next morning hitting the pipe, and then go all the next day. I used to have a boyfriend I did this with. They were benders. Our first date was a bender. I fell over the alcoholic cliff during the course of that relationship, so not his fault. I would have been an alcoholic anyway. But I got there faster, I think, with his help. I crossed over the line at like 22. I was really young. So Chantal's only interested in avoiding some of these people, places, and things some of the time, and downplays all of it. She thinks she's doing fine since she's off the hard stuff. So she says she's off cocaine. I'm sorry, I don't believe her. I don't. I don't know moral judgment, except for the fact that she's lying about it. And I said, excuse me, I understand the lying, but I don't approve, and it's not okay. It's not happening. To lie to your viewers is like not the biggest deal because we're just like an audience or whatever. But she doesn't exist in a bubble. She has a roommate, she has friends, she has a family, she has other people that, she's accountable to. We don't get to just do what we want and think we're not hurting anyone. Just because we're not acknowledging that we're hurting anyone doesn't mean that we're not actually doing it. We don't realize usually till later. But if she never has a later because she never stops using, she didn't have to deal with it. So, I don't know. She can't be surprised when people don't trust her. She's like, oh, I lied. Okay, so I lied about that. What did I lie about? And then she backtracks and says, well, if I want to have any privacy, I have to lie. Leaving things out isn't the same as lying. Again, when the lying happens, things go private. Things become private after that. So, and that's the last note we're going to go on. Keeping things private. When Chantal decides to keep something private, it seems like I said before, it's an unflattering part of her life. Something she said she'd work on and has backtracked and isn't doing very well on, and then decides it's nobody's business, I'm going to keep it off YouTube because too many people have either caught on to some part of it that doesn't make sense, or she's getting a lot of backlash from people that really don't like her, or more importantly, she's getting backlash from her regulars, Karate Joe, Annie, any of those people. So, let's see what we got here. She's not open. She's pretty open about her cannabis use. We'll say that. She's pretty forthright about that. That doesn't mean it's not being abused, though. Most people, she has a non-traditional job, okay? Most YouTubers who are full-time YouTubers, and that's their full-time gig, it's becoming more traditional to work from home, but it's not as traditional as a 9-to-5 gig, okay? So her days and nights are different. So if she wants to have a little recreational time, I used to work at a restaurant and the mailmen would come in for drinks at like 1 p.m. because they'd been working since 4. So their shift ended and they come in and have a few cocktails because probably they were going to bed at like 7 or 8 o'clock at night to get up. So it looked funny, but it made sense for their lifestyle. But they weren't drunk for 8 hours and then going to work the next day. You know what I mean? Not everybody has the luxury of doing that. Are they jealous? I don't know too many people who'd be jealous of not being able to be high for 8 hours a day. It's fun until it's not. I don't know how else to put that. It's fun until it's not. It's fun until you're doing it when you're sad. It's like I said, it's fun until it's not. When you're using it when you feel good, fine. But then when you're using it to feel good, it takes a different tone. You're waiting for it to kick in. All of a sudden you find yourself emotional when it kicks in. You're usually giggly and happy, and for some reason it feels numb this time instead. All of a sudden I feel a little sick to my stomach when I use, and I didn't used to before. My attitude is bad this time, and it didn't used to be. Even on the edibles. Don't depend on THC to give you a better mood if something's really brewing. Personal experience from back in the day. There's parts of my subconscious that shouldn't be brought back out. Trust me. Same as hers. So, again, the cocaine use she'll be open-ish about if she thinks she's going to get support for being a struggling addict. But when she was called out as being very casual about the use of it and not taking it too seriously, it became a private matter at that point. When people were supporting her honesty about it, but then, again, when she appeared under the influence on camera, she lied about it. And now it's too personal, so she's working on it. Working on it means next to nothing from Chantal, unfortunately, because anything she said she's worked on, we hear about months later that she barely started on. The whole weight loss surgery thing. It was months ago she said she was going to get on board with it, or a wait list, or whatever she was on, and now she's like, oh, I have to fill out the paperwork. I don't even know if she made a phone call about the whole thing. Again, her private life, off YouTube. But when you bring up months later something that seems so urgent at the time, it's like, do you even care? If you don't give a shit, why should anybody else? And if someone says, remember that thing you cared about 6 months ago? Do you still care about it? And she's like, well, no, not really. It's not a big deal. It's my life, whatever. I'll be fat and proud. It's okay. It's like, there's no accountability to herself or to anybody else for that. I don't know. Let's see. Food. She's going to try her best to continue healthy weight loss now that she's off of the coca. She has been gaining weight. It looks like she's admitted to gaining weight, and it looks like she's gaining weight, which means she's gaining pretty fast. If that doesn't go well, that'll be worked on off camera too. There will be no more weigh-ins. She'll put on some clothing she said used to be too tight, and now it's too loose, maybe. But I think she may be grounded in the fact that she's going to get heavy, and her new self-loving self will be okay with it. I guess we'll see. But we can see if she's big or not. We can trust our eyes. We can trust our eyes. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, I don't know if anybody knows Tan Mom or anything like that. She had a problem with tanning, and there was an issue with her tanning her daughter. I mean, obviously there's something going on there. But let's say she came on camera. Let's say it was her channel, and she came on pale as a ghost and said she was working on her tanning problem. And week after week after week after week, she got darker and darker and darker and darker and said she's working on it. People would be inclined to ask, what the hell are you doing to work on it? Because you look worse and worse every week. And then for her to say, well, I'm doing something off camera. Well, it's not working because every time you reappear on camera, your condition looks worse. You know, this idea that we can't really trust our eyes and what we're seeing is another bit of manipulation. And certain folks who are her regulars, I think, kind of fall for it, or they'll forgive a lot more than some other people will. And those are her close subs, the people who probably chat with her off of YouTube, text with her, do things like that. And if she's losing their, not loyalty, because loyalty is different than maybe support. You know, would I say I'm loyal? No. I'm a supporter of someone who's making good decisions, and I would hope someone who's making bad ones, you know, could get it together. And I'm always, you know, the first cheerleader of someone who's trying to get their life together, even if they fucked it up like 3 dozen times. But this is why people burn out and stop caring and get angry, you know, because they feel like they're being led on. They feel like they're being led into a recovery journey that not only the person isn't doing well with, but they blow off and don't follow up with because, well, that didn't go well. It wasn't easy enough, so I didn't do it, so I'm not bringing it up again. And that's it. So, relationship status, her boyfriend, her lover, her friend, whoever Dom is to her, I don't know, wants to keep it private, so she's not going anywhere that night. And then there's a little picture on Instagram of her in the car, lo and behold. And then going out with Shannon, that falls through for private reasons. And then she winds up at Dom's. And she's clearly there. And turning the camera away a bunch of times. That other live, it was over 20. When she was there. And I suspected there was some funny business off camera. Okay. Which is not, you know, it's YouTube. It's not XTube. But, I mean, nothing obscene was shown. We saw some nudity this week, but at least we didn't see any sex. You know, there's at least that. So, she wants the mystery. She's over there saying she can't tell you where she is. She can't tell you what's going on. Everyone knows damn well where she is and what she's doing. And if she wanted it private, she wouldn't turn the camera on when she reached the location. She didn't want people to know where she was. That's teasing. And that's part of the YouTube game, I think. That's part of the dangle the carrot to create the mystery, to get the views. She doesn't want to confirm anything. She wants the speculation about it. That's part of the gig, I believe. So she's manipulating in that way as well. But again, is that hate the game, not the player? Because it draws him in. You know, if her final goal is to just grow her channel and make more money and ... then sure. But she's been complaining she's broke. She's broke. She wants very important Beezers to buy her tickets to go see The Weeknd, who she's obsessed with now and wants to talk about all the time. I don't really like The Weeknd. He got all upset he didn't get a Grammy. I don't like the Blinded by the Light song. Not everything that's popular is good. You know what I mean? Like, take Shamrock Shakes. I don't like them. People love them. Or the McRib. So, we have a couple of sidebars, and I'm going to bring Mark in here in a minute. So y'all just hang tight, because there's a few extra things that didn't fall neatly into the other categories. Okay? So hold on for 1 second, and I will summon him. Okay? Come hither.
I'm here.
Come
sitting
hither.
down. I guess.
You are sitting down. Guys, you remember Mark from last week.
Caught me off guard again. I was in the garden.
I know, I scream out the door, they're ready for you.
And I come.
And he came. So, brought Mark in. My
Duty.
last point that was off of, and Bandit wants to make a cameo, sharpening his nails.
Yeah.
The last point I had, which didn't fit in, was her talking about how hard it is, you know, how she's depressed and all this stuff. And it occurred to me that she's a bit privileged.
Privileged? Yeah. I mean, this is a woman who's living in a look at this. Godzilla attacks. This is a woman who's living in a first world country, sitting in her car, 200 pounds overweight and unhappy and depressed and once more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's again delusional, you know.
Yeah, she's world problem,
right?
You know, it's not like she's, and then talking about being low on money.
Yeah,
I'm like, if you talk about being low on money and then return to an apartment 3 times the size of mine, I'm sorry, she doesn't. When we're talking about
never
bottoms,
was low on money before.
No, all of a sudden now it's, well, I mean, I don't know how much you can make off of those live streams. I haven't seen her numbers. I haven't gone to her social blade or anything like that. But you know, she said she spends a ton on takeout, and then I believe that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the snow isn't so cheap.
No, it's not. It's not. And I mean, there's not much different from last week. And I just have to say it's very hard to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a mixed emotion of anger and some pity and some frustration and some sadness, but mostly like just anger and disgust at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, my takeaway, I guess, from this week isn't much different than last week. I will say that if this were a person who was sitting in my office, you know, going through this, she would have been referred to a higher level of care a bit ago.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she would have. You know, you have to put forth effort yourself. You know, on one hand, I'm going to get my life together. What does she want to do? She wants to clean her car, go to Jamaica, film videos every day, no more live streams.
Eat healthy,
clean her apart. I mean,
get her second COVID shot.
All of that. And then that didn't happen. She
Yeah.
didn't get her second COVID shot. But, you know, you have to put forth a little bit of effort on yourself, too. There are plenty of people around you. There is support around you, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
You just have to ask. But then you have to put forth some effort yourself.
Yeah.
And she is not doing any of that. And it's sad. And, you know, what strikes me as just blaring, I mean, is the difference, the disparity, the difference of the way she was and the way she is now. I don't know why a person would want to portray themselves in this way recently as she has. I mean, come on, like she's, you know, you can see it around her nose. Look closely. You know, she physically looks terrible. She slurs her words, she nods, then she's very active and happy, and then I've never seen her look this bad ever, and we're watching this happen in real time. Yeah. And it's not changing. You know, it's very, very alarming. I am standing behind what I said. She either needs a wake-up call, you know, and I think at this point the wake-up call would be a serious health consequence, or her channel being taken down.
That would probably be the two things I could think that would get her attention.
I don't wish either one on her, but I do wish that something would happen that would slap her back into reality, if only to save her life. She continues on this road, she's going to crash. She's, you know, and, you know, and this latest thing of, you know, 21st, boom, she's packing and going somewhere. Yeah. You know, I mean, we're not stupid. Everybody knows. Everyone knows. Get paid on the 21st. I mean, like, you know, this is what is happening. And she drove under the influence. You know, I mean, these are all such dangerous, but unfortunately classic behaviors of a person with an SUD.
This is terribly unoriginal.
It is
content, because it's,
and then coupled with a righteous attitude that she has is a terrible combination. Yeah. So I hope something happens, but I don't think it's going to happen until some type of major thing happens. And
there's kind of a soft spot, I think, that some people with substance use disorders hold for another person, even if they're struggling. But my sponsor one time, I used to do the 12-step thing, always said, it's easy to love the lovable ones.
Yeah.
But I mean, if
has reached the point of being unlovable.
Yeah, at this point, it's like, I'm working with you because I have to,
I know,
or I support you because you're struggling in the same way I have, but, you're making it real difficult.
And like I said, I see it all the time where I work, and she's not unique, but she has a lot stacked against her. I mean, she did it to herself, but, I don't know. I worry, and I hope she can get it together.
I hope so too. We'll see.
I do. I reach out for help and then take the help.
Yeah, she said she had so much help from her family that it felt overwhelming. So it's not that the help isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
She said, and I understand the idea of the help being too much overwhelming because it feels like I asked for help and everybody showed up. It's actually a good thing.
And yeah, it is actually a good thing. And unfortunately, I think this is what we're going to see
over
and over again. It's not going to change. And you get to the point where you have to just kind of, it's too much. You got to take care of yourself too,
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I hope she gets it together. But I tell you, what a tragic downfall from the fun foodie beauty that did mukbangs and time warps and little skits and went for walks and
periodically was butthurt about dumb shit.
Sure, of course.
But that's people.
But she looked good. There was some entertainment value to it.
The only lies were vegan mukbangs.
Right?
She lied about being vegan. Can we please go back to lying about being vegan?
Oh, yes. And sneaking Big Macs behind,
putting tacos in her purse, whatever. She wrecked the wheel almost, eating a snack wrap. She said she almost went off the road. Like,
oh, yeah. Going from that and looking nice and everything to a person who picks her nose and looks at it, picks her nose and then wipes her teeth like she's cleaning her teeth. It is not only disgusting, I'm sorry, but it's very tragic that she's portraying herself in this way.
Mm-hmm. It is. Well, like I said, I hope for her sake it doesn't last much longer.
Yeah.
And I hope that it's a good outcome after it doesn't last much longer.
I guess we'll see.
We will. I'll be here.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yes.
You're here for it?
Yes.
All right. Here. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
And on that note, we're going to leave that right there. Like we said, we'll see how she does. She's piqued my interest now, especially even though I've been covering her for a couple of years, because now I'm watching play out in her life something that played out in mine and a few of my friends. And some of it's very predictable, but addiction has its own slant in some people's lives. So we'll see. We'll see. Something could happen to her. Something could happen to Dom. She could get pulled over. Any number of things could happen. We'll see. It's like put them all in a basket and pick one, and we'll find out. So thank you all for joining us today. Mark thanks you as well, too.
I do.
Thanks for watching. Please do subscribe. Hit the notification bell on your way out so you get the alerts when we have new videos and also when we go live. You can follow us on Facebook at SmokeySteveAndMarc or on Instagram at SmokeySteveAndMarc. Our email address and our contact info is all listed below as well. Thank you again, and we will catch up with you tomorrow. We are going live at 6 p.m. Eastern. It's our usual Sunday live. It's pretty chill. We have good mods. Number depends, but usually same few topics come up, but it's an open chat, so don't hesitate to come by. Thanks for watching. Bye.